Promised earlier on, we have a guest lined up joining us via technology just to appraise us of what's happening around their different sporting disciplines. And as mentioned, we are going to talk matters of volleyball, and we are joined online by the Deputy President, Kenya Volleyball Federation, Mr. Charles NYABERI, a man who needs no introduction when it comes to sports matters in the country. He's been at the Kenya National Sports Council and always in the forefront in terms of uplifting sports in a country. I don't know whether we are ready and through to Mr. Charles NYABERI. Charles, good afternoon. Well, I don't know whether Charles can hear you. Mr. NYABERI, can you hear me? Yes, good afternoon.
I hear you loud and clear, Mpidi.
Thank you very much, and thank you for making time to be with us this afternoon. Hope you're well.
I'm very well, Mpidi, very well.
Charles, I'm informed that you are at Nairobi Gymkhana. The last time I checked, there was no volleyball court at Nairobi Gymkhana. What are you doing at Nairobi Gymkhana?
Well, there is a court for traditional volleyball, but I'm not here on volleyball matters. I'm here teaming up with our cricket people, Nairobi Provincial Cricket, because of Impala Club cricket, because I'm involved with that. So we are having a general assembly in a few minutes time, in a few moments from 3 o'clock.
So you also have an interest in, I've always known you to be interested in all sports in the country. No wonder you are always in the forefront in terms of uplifting sports in the country. So you're also interested in cricket?
Yeah, well, by virtue of being a member of Impala Club, I'm the chair of Impala Club cricket. So but not as mainstream as volleyball or athletics, for example. But yeah, I have a peripheral interest in cricket.
Well done, Mr. NYABERI. I also follow cricket a lot, and I really enjoy, more so when, overs are out and you have to chase a run. Now, very quickly, Mr. NYABERI, I know we have, resumption of sports in the country that have already been given out. And as we look at this, give us an update from a volleyball point of view, because I know there you are the Deputy President. What's in store for us from a volleyball point of view? Are we set with a new calendar, or what's the plan?
Well, from the volleyball front, we have petitioned the ministry for permission to have limited but very, very carefully supervised volleyball action. As you realize, the new calendar of events that as per the FIVB new program kicks off test guidelines, certified volleyball as a minimal risk contact sport, which means officially we can't just go ahead until and unless we have the express clearance from the ministry, and we have to show on the ground what precautions we are going to take. So in that respect, we got down with the technical committee, the COVID-19 Volleyball Technical Committee, and crafted very good foolproof protocols, which we hope we have presented them to the Ministry of Sport, to the Cabinet Secretary's office, and we hope that they will be accepted, because we have taken every precaution, starting with the appointment of a National Volleyball COVID-19 Steering Committee, which is the one that will not only implement the protocols, but also they'll do the monitoring and evaluation and take all the steps to make sure that there is a public education of all our stakeholders. So we are actually holding our breath and praying. And Mpidi, last time I checked with you, you are quite prayerful. You can unaweza kutuongezea pia maombi yako.
Yes.
We are hoping that it comes through. In our protocols, proposed protocols, We have put in place the capping of people, of the number of people at any one of the venues. And here we are mainly talking of the indoor venues. Our prayer revolves around Malkia strikers being allowed to resume full training immediately, because they have less than 9 months before the next Olympics. Then we have also the three senior men, 3 senior women teams, which have qualified for African Club Championships, which will again lead to qualification to World Club Championships. Then also our national team, our national men's and women's teams have also been called up for Africa Cup of Nations Championships, which also is the route, the conduit through which we get to World Cup and World Championships. So our prayer is basically for Malkia strikers, the national beach volleyball, both men and women. As you realize, our women are the current silver medalists for the Africa Games. And the men and women were in the last stages of qualifying for the Olympics when COVID-19 struck. So we are also requesting to be allowed to resume some limited beach volleyball action. Then the Malkia strikers cannot train on their own. The best training is for the league, the vibrant league to resume. The players as individuals and as a team, then they can have an atmosphere, a competitive atmosphere to train in. This same league, national league, will also assist the 6 clubs that are going to go for African Club Championship. So our prayer basically revolves around permission for Malkia strikers to get back into, to be allowed. Then also the National League and the National Beach Volleyball Circuit. Those are the 3 prayers we have. Then we are hoping that if things improve, then the rest of the volleyball action can roll up.
Mr. NYABERI, very good, plan there with the national teams, and of course, a very good point with, looking at what to focus on. As we look at the same, I believe you are working with your medical team, with the ministry, to ensure that at least some of the protocols that were put in place can be effected, so that you get a green light from the ministry, because volleyball was taken to be part, one of the contact sports. Is your medical team working in collaboration with the ministry?
First of all,
go ahead.
Yeah.
We seem to be not getting very well connectivity with Mr. NYABERI. Yes, Mr. NYABERI, go ahead.
We're working very... Hello?
Go ahead.
We're working very closely with our medical... Hello?
Yes, go ahead, I can hear you.
Can you get me, Ampi?
Yes, I can get you. Yes.
Now, our national COVID-19 steering committee has 2
We seem not to be getting Mr. NYABERI.
We also
yes.
People keep calling. I'm sorry, I'm using my handset, so people keep calling in.
No, it's okay. He seems to be getting lots of interruptions. Yes, just go ahead.
Protocols.
Yes.
The National Ministry of Sports protocols, which actually were generated by Ministry of Health.
Correct.
We are basing our protocols on the FIVB, the Federation of International Volleyball Protocols, which have been employed universally. The beauty of it is that there's very little difference between the FIVB and the national guidelines. So our protocol is actually a product of those 2 papers, but hand in hand, our medical wing will have a lot of work, because we are going to incorporate them fully, both at committee level and also at national level, and also at provincial level, at branch level.
Mr. NYABERI, as we look at that as well, The question is, what about at the club level? Are you, sharing the same with the different clubs so that you can have a uniform protocol that goes all the way up to club level to make things very easy for you?
Yeah, exactly. We're actually sharing it with the club level, with the national league clubs, and also later down to the branches. We are going to have, we plan a Zoom training, a 2-day training for team managers and the medical staff and the sponsors of these teams all the way down to the grassroots, so that when it comes to implementation, it will be easy. One of the biggest obstacles that was there has been removed. As you realize, the original guidelines from Ministry of Health and Ministry of Sports called for compulsory testing of all players.
Correct.
72 hours before any event. Now, fortunately, this has been relaxed because this was going to be both expensive and strenuous. This one has been relaxed and it's been made. It doesn't mean that we would now the only people who will be tested and show signs like high fever, headache, etc., etc. The ones who are suspicious COVID-19 cases. So we are going to have, next week is going to be very busy for us. The National Committee, Volleyball COVID-19 Committee, is going to hold Zoom trainings, 2 days for teams, and then later for the other officials all the way down. And then we also want to have a training for our Malkia strikers, and also the players and officials, and also the players and officials of all the national league teams. So it's going to be quite a program.
Mr. NYABERI, as they relax that very good, for some of the federations, because testing the players was going to be very, very expensive. What about, handling the facilities? Some of the conditions are put in, like having sanitizers around, keeping social distancing, wearing of masks. Are all those are being put in place to ensure that the different facilities that you train in are all taken care of from a safety point of view?
For it, we have to make sure they are fully fumigated. We are going to have thermal guns at the entrances. We are also going to make sure that the spectator ranks are spaced out to show social distancing. Above all, the game protocols have been altered. There are some things that there are some practices that we have removed from the normal game protocols. And this is not just us, it's universally, worldwide, to make sure we have removed, for example, the handshakes. The inter-team handshakes at the beginning and at the end of the game. We have removed that celebratory coming together, bunching together to celebrate wins. We have removed any kind of congratulatory contact, even between members of the same team. Above all, the technical bench has now been scattered. It's going to be either in 2 rows, or it's going to be one long one along the sideline, so that there is at least 1.5 meters between any member of the technical team. We have, and then on top of that, we are going to sanitize our main implement, which is the ball, the volleyball. We are going to make sure that it is continually sanitized as the game progresses.
A very good point there, Mr. NYABERI. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. My question now is, as we keep our fingers crossed that the ministry can give a clear guideline, and give you a clean bill of health to immediately resume and get into action with some of the teams, national Malkia strikers, the beach volleyball teams. The question is, do you have a tentative calendar should you get a green light? Do you have a tentative calendar that can easily be put into action and everything gets moving should you be given the green light?
Yeah, our technical team will also actually, both our sports organizing secretaries, the sports organizing secretary and the deputy are both members of the National COVID-19 Organizing Committee. They have drawn up you know, our calendar for 2020 was cancelled because when COVID set in, we had only played one leg in NYABERI. So it was cancelled. So the calendar we're embarking on is 2020-2021, which starts in October 2020 and ends in June 2021. Now we have that calendar. A calendar has been drawn up by our technical people and is going to get approved either virtually or on a face-to-face meeting by the National Executive Committee this week. And once it's cleared, we have a tentative one which is just awaiting clearance by the National Executive Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. NYABERI. Probably as we wind up, I don't want to take your time. I know you're supposed to be going in for a meeting. What would your parting shot be to the volleyball fraternity listening to you now? What message would you have for them before I release you for your assignment or meeting? What is your message to the volleyball fraternity?
Yes. Yeah, my parting shot, and which is actually the prayer and wish of the entire volleyball fraternity, is that we be allowed limited, carefully crafted, carefully supervised action, and we, on our part, we pledge to take all the precautions, and I'm appealing to all the volleyballers from national all the way to grassroots to please embrace the concept and the guidelines of staying safe to make sure that there is no transmission, interpersonal transmission of COVID-19. And one of the best things to do it, I forgot to say that as volleyball, we are generating a pamphlet, a behavior change communication pamphlet, one which will basically deal with prevention education. And we're going to simplify it, and we are going to have it in English and Kiswahili, and we are going to pass it. This is something we are working with the Minister of Sports and Minister of Health to come up with, and we'll pass this down and disseminate the contents to all our levels. But our prayer is that we can be allowed, and we give the pledge. Our pledge is that we'll play responsibly, we will be careful, we will not breach any of the protocols as set out by the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Sports. And this is actually very evident. After this AMFA, I'm going to send you on your WhatsApp our protocols, and you'll see they are very, very thorough, with a lot of input from all our departments.
Well said, Mr. NYABERI. The question that I would have is, what about for our fans? For now, they would just have to follow maybe through social media.
Yeah, well, you know, I think there is general widespread thirst and yearning for resumed action, sporting action, not just in volleyball, are displaying that by organizing local tournaments. And the best way to cure and make sure that everything is under control is to allow the federation at both national and branch level to resume action which they can supervise and make sure that they enforce all the requisite preventive measures, so that we make sure that there's no breach and there's no risk. That is our opinion. And then above all, I think we should all and sundry, both sports people and others, we should all pray that this wave, this pandemic, God sweeps it away, so that we can live a normal life.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles NYABERI, Deputy President, Kenya Volleyball Federation. And of course, we appreciate you making time to be with us this afternoon. Wishing you a very good meeting that's coming shortly after this 3 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and wishing you all the best.